So that's what he did. Grinded it out and got his PB down by several minutes, and that was really his main rise in skill happened around that time. It looks like we're getting started here.
Yeah, definitely no soloist around there, but beginning tech smashing, lots of fun. Get wake up, get out of bed here, and get their own going.
Yeah, you get to walk out in the rain. Since there's no coffee, that's a good way to wake yourself up in the morning.
Yeah, go for a little jog and accidentally fall in a hole, and then you get wet and a sword, and things happen, and goes a little too far, and
Yeah, you're spoiling the whole game now.
suddenly you wake up in church, and you're like, what, my life?
Well, in North America, we can't call it a church. We have to call it a sanctuary.
Oh, this is true. Yeah, even though it's a pretty simple part of the run, there are a lot of little nuances in terms of movement. So, we don't have too many items just yet, obviously, but just even watching the two players, you can see, just little differences, little divergences, which you normally wouldn't think, but the game just has a ton of nuance like that.
Oh yeah, for sure. There's a lot of very invisible or difficult to observe time saves or time losses.
Yeah, even little things like that green guard there that got in Andy's way, but you can slash the bush, hold out your sword, and he was able to, going through the damage of the soldier there, get through. So a little bit slower, but just one little way to deal with one little situation.
Yeah, a lot of this game at the high level, optimization really is just handling little random deviations in enemy patterns, and having a lot of knowledge and experience helps you to mitigate time loss from those kind of things. And that's the main thing that we're going to be seeing in Escape, the latter half of Escape, really, what we call the sewers.
Yeah, sometimes you can kind of, play to the enemies, or, it's more stack in what they do. Like here, you move up to a certain portion, so the green guards always move south like that. But then there are sometimes, like with Gibbos and whatnot later, where you might get something like a rare RNG pattern that might happen like 1 out of 16 times or something. And then if you're not used to that 1 in 16 time or whichever, it can throw you for a loop.
Yeah, in that case, you just kind of panic and hope for the best. And even in those cases where there isn't a standardized reaction, it is really a hallmark of a very experienced player to see them improvise and still handle the situation well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so I think g3rd0 is going to be the last emulator player that we have in the tournament. Looks like he's playing on an emulator with the Beast Nest core, which is completely cycle accurate, exact same frame rate as console. So there's no real time loss there. Some emulators do run at a slower frame rate, or maybe even have a tiny bit more lag because of slight inaccuracies like SNES 9X does. The disadvantage really is going to be that there's going to be slightly more input delay, although depending on his setup, it might be practically negligible. But there isn't going to be any strict time loss from using the emulator.
Yeah, if you can separate, it's not too bad. Original software is definitely nice, but through modern technology, lots of options.
Yeah, what you want to do is get a parallel port modded controller if you have a computer with a parallel port in 2018. It's a little faster than USB, apparently. I have no idea why. Or a PS2 keyboard works very well. And that's not a PlayStation 2 keyboard. That's some other acronym that I'm not familiar with. But that's a little, it interacts more directly with the hardware or something.
So you not recommend a Rock Band controller, then I take it.
That would be fun to watch, though.
Most certainly. To arcade stick?
Yeah, I heard you were going to cut Scrivo on an arcade stick, so I'm still waiting for that to happen.
Whoa. But that would be a fun challenge run at some point.
Yeah, so these players have gained and lost a teeny little bit of time here and there, and have stayed very close to each other. g3rd0 pulled ahead a teeny bit earlier, and Andy got ahead a little bit later. Both are in perfectly stable positions as far as hearts go. No ammo to really talk about at this point. The single rupee that they picked up is practically negligible.
Actually, I do have a quick question, if you don't mind. So that shelf thing that they push, is it better to push it from lower or higher? think it was lower
Don't think
or
it really
negligible.
matters.
Doesn't matter.
I guess it wouldn't really matter because you can't pump on the shelf itself. If you try to, because it's a sprite, you'll actually stop moving. So the movement distance is the same either way. You're moving up farther to push the shelf, or you're moving farther in the door and you push it lower. I think it's negligible. The only difference is if you walk too high and touch the wall, you're actually getting 0 frame movement. So hitting it before you touch the wall would be ideal.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Gar got the good key right and had to chase it down a little bit, and he got an acceptable RNG there.
Andy getting some nice draw energy here. Yeah, both players still keeping it really tight together.
Yep. They both seen their first blue drop in the rupee prize pack. So next will be green, then blue, then red. They don't need to worry about picking up the blues as long as they can get the red, but the blues definitely do not hurt to get because the red is not going to be guaranteed to be able to be picked up.
Yeah, I might see them opt to do some extra slashes to try and get it from the Octoroks.
Yeah, they might try to push the prize pack forward with the Octoroks. Ideally, you'd get it from a Popo in Eastern Palace because there's a few that you can kill that will drop the rupee right in your way. Andy skipping the Sanctuary Heart. Gerdo's going to pick it up.
Whoa!
He had 3/4 of a heart less there. So
Look at that Andy guy go, trailblazing.
Yeah, going to save about 3 seconds on his opponent here. Hopefully not live to regret that decision.
Nah, it'll be fine. They're on this be straight fire.
Oh no. Yeah, Andy, we were talking about this earlier before we started, but Andy handles pressure better than just about anybody I've ever seen in my life. So I don't think we're going to have to worry about nerves being a big problem for him. You know, if he plays his normal game with his normal confidence, I feel like if he tries to play it safe and do different things than he's used to doing, that's just going to mess him up more than just doing his normal knucklehead style.
We did see g3rd0 get the green rupee, so next one will be a blue for him.
That's right. All right, coming into Eastern Palace, they're going to kill this dungeon so that they can get a pendant, trade it in for some fancy new boots.
It would have been cool if the boots changed color, because his feet are already red, but then you get them, and nothing really changes, but it changes his mitts and power glove.
Yeah, that's true. In fact, I don't think most people even notice that his hands changed from the mitts, and the graphic palette is actually bugged a little bit, and they won't always display the correct color. I mean, I think that's present on maybe all versions.
Ooh, Andy getting a nice, convenient magic drop there. Save a few frames.
Yeah, that magic pickup is going to save him 16 frames on the refill after he kills the boss. It's going to take a little bit less than 16 frames to throw the boomerang to pick it up, resulting in a net save of just a few frames, but still the technically correct decision there. Both players picking up the backup or optional arrow pot, I shouldn't say backup, but with that they will have a high level of security on their arrow counts throughout the early game. Not have to rely on any luck of the drops.
And of course, speaking of drops, there is the 20 rupee for g3rd0 and then the green rupee for Andy.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So g3rd0 will be good for money here.
Yeah, you want to pick a minimum of 14 from drops, so that puts him higher than where he needs to be. Andy still has plenty of opportunities to get those rupees, though. And the big key damage boost, well executed from Andy, but he walked past the chest there for a second. Nice from g3rd0 as well. Picking up the chest in his first try, saving a little time on Andy there.
Yeah, first punch in the game, but still pretty scary. Again, with the intentional, damage taking and some of the upcoming RNGs, but not too bad. Just still, it might be a little unsettling.
Yeah, there's definitely some risk. The enemies coming up here for Andy do a single heart of damage. Some of them do. So if we were to make a small error here, he could possibly get killed by this green guy.
See Andy typing in chat, so hopefully that's not the case here.
Yeah, making me a little worried there. The anti-fairy is also doing a heart. I'm wondering where he's going to die after that spoiler. I don't think he's gonna die though. Would have already happened.
No, just trolling the viewers.
I think so.
Yeah, Mr. Red Rupee didn't get the blue, but sending the metagame here.
Yeah. Yeah, and he did get a red drop, but he was unable to grab it.
Oh, but does have full arrows here, which is really nice.
Yep.
And an additional drop, 30 entering Armos. And g3rd0 also at 30, but does not get fortunate drop. Still at 26, very healthy count.
And he's doing a pretty unique Armos strategy here. We don't see anybody else doing that exact same one these days. It was a little more popular back in the day, but the top right strat has the potential to be almost equally fast and, in most people's opinion, much easier. However, it's much less fancy, so I'm pretty sure that's why Andy chooses to do it the way that he does.
Yeah, it's not fancy. Like why are you playing, right? have to go for all the fun stuff, even if it loses time. Clearly.
Yeah, I actually think we might see Andy doing the cactus dash later.
Well, that's entirely practical.
Entirely. All right, Andy was able to gain, I think, a little more time in the dungeon. He has more than his 3-second advantage from the Sanctuary Heart only. Picking up the boots, we're going to see the first Japanese 1.0 exclusive glitch, the super speed here, coming off of these stairs. And he gets it. First try.
Easy every time.
Yep, it's usually easy every time.
Yeah, there are those odd times where, it's a frame rule. It's not as easy, but you can't really necessarily count for this. It's otherwise easy every time.
Frame rule. That's just a buzzword. Nothing too dramatic happening on the way to the book so far. Hopefully nothing too dramatic happens for either player. Another successful super speed from Andy. Making his way into the library there.
It's definitely clean entering the stairs there.
Yep.
Or just opting to go up the stairs there. I think it only loses like half a second or something.
It may even be less. It's really hard to get the maximum time saved from these ones. But it's approximately half a second, ideally. I can hear the honks in my neighborhood. Sorry about that. Wow, that was really close to
passers cheering. Just like a football game, they're passing by, they're like, yo, let's go. Link to the past. Now honk your horn.
No water dash from Andy. And no fruit spats dash either. Looks like the same for g3rd0.
Yeah. This there is a nice little tutorial for your boots. Lots of fun dashing. Pretty peaceful part of the run, I think. And Desert itself is really fun too. Then you have Lamel at the end, and that kind of throws the whole split into a little bit out of whack.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the nice thing about these long dashes is if you're a sweaty player like I know Andy is, it gives you a great opportunity to dry off your hands and your trousers every time you start a dash.
Yeah, menu buffers very prevalent in the run, but sweat, palm buffer, no less important.
Right. Now, whose audio do we have here? If we have Andy's audio, we should be hearing some book spam to save just a few imaginary frames.
Yeah, it's potentially probably not. So it's a different variable, not quite the altitude variable, but who knows?
Imagine if it actually did, though. Pinkus, look into it. Cannonballs are one of the few RNG dependent rooms in this dungeon outside of Lamola's. Yeah, and it got poor RNG there. It did react well to it. g3rd0 also getting poor RNG. Reacting well enough. Yep, doing just as well as Andy there.
Yeah, the nice thing we'll get all our arrows stocked up here. Andy will be sitting at max. So just very healthy arrow run so far.
Yeah, getting up to 30 here. There is a backup arrow pot, or an optional one, right before Lamola's. I don't think g3rd0 would get it at 28. It's 5 arrows. You'd kind of be wasting 3 of them. Going into Lamola's with 30 is a lot of security.
Yeah, definitely.
Another risky super speed here. We're going to see Andy go for it. Did not get it, but he might. No, he's going to bail. You can try to go for it. If you get the super speed glitch, but don't actually get the speed off the stairs, you can kind of try to salvage it. This will be another one that g3rd0 does not go for, favoring consistency over a potential time save.
Yeah, there are some things where sure you could save time, but if you're not able to, do it in your run, or not necessarily do it, but do it consistently enough, then it would defeat the point of the time save. And there's so many little things like that in the game where you really do have to, kind of judge and estimate for yourself what you think is worth it, even not on a run-to-run basis.
Yeah, especially in a race, you're going to want to probably favor consistency and lack major time losses.
Yeah,
where Andy is, you messed up those torches a little bit, but from here you can actually set up a key dash into that big key door. See if he knows that tech.
Oh, I'm excited.
Ah, he walked, darn. I think it's faster to walk anyway, but we were talking about fanciness earlier. All right, here's Lamola's. Going to try to distribute the arrows as well as he can, so he doesn't have one with full HP after killing the other 2.
That's a good 3rd arrow.
Yeah, looks like g3rd0 having a little bit better of a start than Andy did. And he continuing the fight reasonably well. He could finish it on this cycle. Yeah, he's able to. And g3rd0 maybe, he's going to have one more cycle probably.
I think that was 4 cycle for Andy? Maybe 3.
I think it was 4, but I don't count cycles. It's a reasonably good fight. Looks like the gap is staying similar. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, I was going to say, oh.
Oh, and he bonked the cactus.
Yeah, without that sync cart, sitting at 4, Death Mountain, obviously a bit treacherous, but Hera does have health refills, so, barring disaster, it shouldn't be too bad. Oh, getting fortunate with the Blood RNG, even though he was not aligned with the wall there. It plays it safe than sorry.
Yeah, you can get a pixel boost off those walls, or maybe just don't go quite down far enough to dash along it. And that can change the way that you have to react to specific RNG patterns. Oh, and spending an arrow there because he has so many to save a little time. You don't see that too much. It's not really a standard strategy, but because the arrow is usually worth more than the time save, but it is pretty healthy there.
Yeah, I have to wonder between picking up the extra arrows in Desert and then taking out potential buzz blobs like that, how much it would actually factor out.
There's a lot of science that's been done there, but Andy did have 30 before Lamola, so he didn't even have to worry about making that choice.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because he spent the arrow, but they actually would have been at the same arrow count. g3rd0 is sitting at 14.
Yeah, he used a couple less during the Lamola's fight. Andy needs to be
oh no!
It was in a dangerous position, and he didn't react to it well. I mean, squirrel block is partly bad luck, but really, if you react well, it should never happen, and that's going to let g3rd0 take the lead by a little bit here.
I blame the lucky sync cart being skipped.
Oh, Andy got hit by a boulder on the stairs, which might seem unfortunate, but it actually canceled his spin, but he was able to get the spin dash glitch, which actually resulted in a time save. It does put him at a dangerous heart level, but that's a very rare situation where taking damage and completely out of your control actually saves a little time. And he was able to pick up a blue drop, which put him up to 12, meaning he needs 2, or he's going to hope to get 2 more. You really aren't going to go out of your way to pick up green drops. But if he were to somehow get 2 greens and that 1 green rupee at the beginning of the run that I said should be negligible, may actually end up being relevant. Ooh, slick Moldum dodge for g3rd0 there. Andy not being quite so slick. Got surrounded by a single Moldorm.
Yeah, things got a little bit intimate. But
Yeah.
thankfully he was not too high up in the tower or anything. We'll just go back to the entrance. So small time loss in a game like this. You know, there's still so much on the table, but g3rd0 getting a little bit of a buffer here.
Yeah, most of the players were successful with their boomerang dashes, and he gets the iframes to rest. g3rd0's going to have to at least put his sword out to stop these tiles. He's 1 pixel too low, though. He's not perfectly aligned with this door, so he's going to get a little corner bash here. Not too big of a deal. And g3rd0's going to be heading up the Tower of Hera now. Took care of both the basements. Oh, Andy getting intimate with a few more Moldorms. g3rd0 doing the Pooey strat in the Beetle Room. Don't see that too often. A guy named Pooey was really the one who innovated that strategy. Joe D'Amelio was another popular player who still does that.
I was going to say, I remember there was, I believe, a GDQ event, and Joe pulled that off during a 4-way, if I'm not mistaken. So,
yeah.
Really cool to see here.
Yeah, Andy doing a more traditional one. Both having success, though, with their chosen strategies. Oh, now it's g3rd0's turn to have a dance with Moldorms here. Before the tower for a bomb jump.
That dances Moldorm. Very nice bomb jump there, using the charge spin in order to stop himself from falling into the hole, because you will not release a spin unless you're on stable ground. So the first pixel that you are on stable ground, Link will release a spin, and that primes you perfectly for the bomb jump. Alternatively, Andy bonking against the wall there, increasing the pixel tolerance from 2 to 4 or 6 pixels. So both very safe bomb jump approaches.
And he got blocked by the fire and then flanked by another Moldorm. I think Big Moldorm is putting his children on Andy because he's scared. Let's see how Andy handles that fight. g3rd0's in that fight already. 1 hit left for the kill. A little hard time getting that last hit in. An unsafe dash there. Doing a lot of dashes. All right.
Yeah, I have to be really careful going north and south there.
Yeah, Andy's going to want to not take any risks like that. g3rd0 had a little leniency too because of his heart count. And the last phase dashes on Moldorm tend to be a little bit safer. Andy going mostly for slashes and pokes because he only had 1 heart. And he got through it safe.
That ending was personally a little bit worrisome, but Andy not worried. Takes out Moldorm. A little bit quicker of a fight, actually.
Yeah.
The main thing is getting through at that point, and so it's good composure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, lost a little time in the early part of the dungeon, but it looks like he was able to save some right there at the end. Not too big of a gap between these players yet. Coming out of Tower of Hera, they're going to be picking up all the rupees that they need to pay Kiki. They'll be picking them up from a couple of rupee trees.
Yeah, g3rd0 opting to use his mini buffer there for the bow. Just a little bit early, but it's okay. And it's like Andy did it pretty early too, but kept the dash, recognizing that he was a little bit far away.
Yeah. And he should pick up 3 blue rupees here. g3rd0 only had to pick up 2.
Favorable buzz swabs for both of them. It's now just going to our Master Sword.
That's right. And walk into the Master Sword Grove to save a few frames. One of those little invisible time saves that you might not even think about when you're watching a run, but researchers have figured out that it is a little better. Andy, being an old school player, is going to dash in because he probably never learned that tech.
It's hard to say. There are some people that learn tech and then they're stubborn anyway. You know, especially if you have a method that you prefer, you know.
Yeah, you've been doing things one way for however long Andy's been playing, like 35 years or whatever. It's a little hard to change unless the new thing is significant, like the new Meyer tech, which Andy definitely has learned and will do.
Some very exciting stuff with that. I mean, this is so cool. Like, even if it wasn't quicker, you're like, well, this is some funky stuff. Like, you know, got at least learn it.
Yeah, I guess that's a good enough reason. We need to stop talking about frame saves and talk about how much funk the strategy has. All right. They do need 110 rupees, and he's sitting at 107. Might not look like he has enough, but there are some free pickups in Aghanim's Tower. You can get up to 6 there. And he probably will pick up all 6 because, like I said, they're free. They're pretty much unavoidable because they're right in your way. But g3rd0 picking up those 6 for free is going to have 120, which means that if he loses Kiki once, he's not going to have to go farming for extra rupees.
Yeah, definitely. That wouldn't happen. I don't think I've ever seen a runner have that happen to them.
Never.
Definitely not myself. Not at all.
Oh no.
But yeah, 13 arrows and full health. Personally, one of my favorite parts of the game. Very fun tower. Bit of a gauntlet here. You know, you start the game, go through it, and you don't have too much of it. Now you got boots, bow, you know, sword, beam, master sword, and the way you approach it is, you know, different depending on your kind of loadout here. So very dynamic part of the game too. A lot of different little strategies, and it's kind of the first, you know, kind of. I don't know, just it's kind of exciting because again, you come back and you feel strong and you're going to Aghanim. It's like you're not even, you know, you're going to learn what difficulty is when we get to the Dark World here. Just get warmed up.
Yeah, nice little intermediary dungeon. Kind of a foreshadowing of what's to come, only not nearly as dangerous as what is to come.
Yeah. g3rd0 taking a safer approach there on that walkway, and the guard was terrible, but takes a minute anyway. It's just a key dash. Just...
And he's trying to hover there, I think, but realizing that he can just walk around.
And Andy going for a key dash too, nice.
Had a perfect quick kill there for g3rd0, but barely a time loss. Good circle pots. Oh, and he's using another arrow for a marginal time save. That is one of the ones that I like.
Yeah, I remember watching from Randomizer, Andy go through the tower here. Just very comfortable, so it was fun to kind of watch him. In terms of the matchup, just see, you know, two players kind of go through, but, you know, holding it very well, going through really quickly. Lots of experience here.
All right, coming up is the Aghanim boss fight. Everybody's favorite boss fight. We're in the cutscene at the same time, so the gap still is not very large.
It's a cutscene, so that means you can, you know, go to the washroom or get a drink, right?
Yes. The only cutscene where you don't do that is the Misery Mire torch room, because you will be dead by the time you come back.
Yep, I've experienced that too.
Alright, I'm not going to be counting blue balls. I'm just going to say that right now. We're going to wait till the fight's over and someone else is going to tell us, someone in chat. They've at least gotten one each, so no perfect fights for either player.
That looks like 2 so far for g3rd0.
Now, as fans of a good race, we always hope that the blue ball count is at least similar. Whether or not it's high or low is totally irrelevant. We don't really care in that regard. We just don't want the race to be affected too much by this fight, because the time gain or loss is completely out of these players' control.
Yeah, ideally it'd be 15 for both players, but we've already ruined that, so hopefully it's, you know, some number that is similar to each other, but g3rd0 seems to be getting more here.
Yeah, if you get a second lightning, that means you've gotten a minimum of 3. Andy did not get the second lightning, so you got less than 3. g3rd0's gotten, if this one kills, I guess 4. Don't have to count them if you know the algorithm. Just pay attention to a few cycles in the fight. I think that was 5. That is going to allow Andy to retake the lead here. Definitely not an insurmountable advantage that gives him, however.
No, and it's nice that, you know, an RNG like that is a little bit sooner into the run. Not as early as one would hope, but probably the biggest swing in terms of time. or one of at least.
Yeah. Yeah, assuming that a simple RNG factor doesn't cause a huge mistake, like a bad Moldum RNG can cause a fall or death. But that is within your control. That should be reactionable. So Aghanim is out of your control. Players will be coming up in the Palace of Darkness, the first Dark World dungeon. You'll see a pretty marked increase in the difficulty. You're going to see enemies in the overworld on the way to this dungeon that do up to 3 hearts of damage. If Andy were to get touched with one that's half of all of his hearts, that would be devastating. The dungeon itself is more difficult from a standard design perspective. There are more challenging enemies, more challenging puzzles to complete, as well as more difficult speedrunning tricks like the hammer jump, and of course the boss fight being one of the most difficult in the run.
Yeah, it's kind of a little bit of a deep breath going to the Dark World here, and then it gets a little bit easier, but definitely they kind of throw everything at you here with this dungeon. But both dealing with Kiki pretty nice. Trying to shimmy him closer to the door so that he doesn't take as long to walk and hit switch.
Yeah, that's a cool kind of time save, mitigating the distance that an NPC has to travel. You see that in some other speed games as well, like the Pokemon Red and Blue speedruns. You actually walk a longer distance to get around an NPC, just so another NPC walks a shorter distance after he comes on camera. Cute little time saves like that are ones that I do like.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so while the runners, of course, can take a little bit of damage in the dungeon, because there are 3 heart refills coming up a little bit later, you do want to not fall less than 2 hearts here, because you will take 1 intentional from the bomb for the hammer jump. And it'll save a lot of time in terms of menuing and the like.
Yeah, full hearts is usually just a thing that gives you comfort, but when the sword beams are actually able to be used for things like hitting a switch, and that can allow you to not have to menu an additional time or multiple times, that can add up to a big time save, and that is going to be the case here, so they're going to want to stay high on hearts. Here comes the hammer jumper Andy. It's going to set it up a little differently than other people, using the sword for both visual cues there. Really good one from them. Andy is very skilled with using the sword to buffer movement for precise movements. So if he did have to make any adjustments there, we probably would have seen him trying to do that. Okay, g3rd0's doing it the same way right after I said it was an unusual way to do it. It is less common, but apparently more common than I thought.
Yeah, only goes for the single bomb through in order to make sure that he has the maximum amount of time for the bomb jump there. And for those unaware, you've seen both of them lift up a skull pot there and walk along the edge of the gap. It actually restores your movement speed, even though you're holding an object. So it's a solo thing, but just save the timing.
Yeah, it's weird how that happens, because the game calculates your movement based on your terrain and other factors that might slow you down, like carrying an object or holding your sword, or even being followed by an NPC. So like when you're being followed by the old man on the way to the Tower of Hera, if you walk next to the pit in that room, you'll actually regain your movement speed as you're walking along it. Which is irrelevant because you want to walk that way anyway because it's the shortest distance, but it's just a cute thing.
Yeah, you can also hold the pot and touch a crystal switch, and it'll have the same type of effect.
Yeah, or jump off a ledge. Yeah, a bunch of weird stuff.
Yeah. It's a bit of a weird game.
And he's done a few actions in the wrong direction here. Shot an arrow in the wrong way before hitting the switch, and then just threw a sword beam in the wrong direction before hitting that switch. I don't know, maybe his left hand is moving a little slower than his right hand today. He is left-handed, fun fact about Andy, so I don't know if that's going to be a factor in the run. He also uses the inside of the knuckle of his thumb on the D-pad instead of the tip of his thumb. I find that to be a bit of an unusual technique, but I'm sure it's not as uncommon as I think it is.
I'm just kind of thinking of those sports cards for different players with all the little facts and stats. I think that'd be a neat little thing to come out.
Yeah.
Just to learn all the little quirks.
Ooh. Okay, that was an excellent fight from Andy. Excellent second phase at least.
That's definitely good. Helmetstar can be a bit of a jerk.
He did stand still and not throw a fireball, so it was pretty much the optimal situation. But even when that happens, you still have to, do some pretty precise hits on him. Gerdo's going to get no movement here for his hits, but he's going to get a fireball, so he's going to release the spin early in order to get a safe final hit for the kill.
Yeah, good fight considering what he's dealt with.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so of course, first dungeon of the Dark World, but we'll actually be going to the game's intended fourth dungeon next, which it's kind of funny. I think it'd be a lot harder, but it's actually a lot simpler, just given the nature of the game and how enemies and everything works. And then of course the final boss is blind, so a little bit of breather here. Almost a bit of a gatekeeper boss, but just lots of upcoming movement and little things here.
Yeah, coming out of this dungeon, there's a chance if they get very unlucky that they can get hit by a couple of these Ropas to lose 2 hearts. It's not too common, and as far as the researchers of this game know, there is no way to be absolutely sure that's not going to happen, but it is extremely uncommon. Yeah, Andy got that guy grazed his forehead there.
Yeah, and then there's... Oh, sorry.
Oh no, there's like 32 RNGs and 4 different frame rules, so the potential for it happening could be as infrequent as 101 in 128, assuming that it takes the actual worst case of both of those. But we don't know for sure if that's the case or not.
Yeah, of course, the way g3rd0 is moving there, trying to make sure he doesn't get hit by the dactyl. Just kind of overcompensating a little bit, but definitely better than getting hit. Those things hurt.
Yeah, there's some very consistent ways to handle some situations that can potentially be risky. All it would take is a very small movement error to get hit by that guy, or you can do something that's completely safe and never have to worry about it.
Yeah, that was a nice quick work for Andy. I did not catch it. We got the pixel boost coming out of the Stump Kids dialogue, but let's see if g3rd0 does get it.
Yeah, those pixel boosts, if you're holding any direction when you receive an item, you will always get a single frame movement in the direction, even if you don't always visually see that it happens. Because the animation frame that Link is posed or whatever changes, so that's what causes you to not always be able to tell if there's movement, as far as I know. So it's always worth doing, even if it amounts to a single frame save. Holding a direction in the first frame that a text box appears, however, will cause you to change direction, but not actually move a single frame. So when they're getting the sword from the dwarf, they'll be able to change directions they're facing by holding away from the dwarves, which is worth doing because you can dash first frame after canceling the text box and not have to worry about talking to them again. You're not actually moving towards the door early.
Yeah, definitely. So you did see g3rd0 get his quick warp, and looks like he's going to go for a spin speed here, hitting the sword and the flute on the same frame, so he'll be able to hold the button and get the spin speed, but kind of interesting considering he did not opt for the library spin speed earlier.
Yeah, I was just going to say that he neglected to do a couple of the other very small time saves. This is like the smallest time save of all super speeds. It's like 10 frames or less. And you got a rock under a bush there. It's super annoying when that happens, but it's fairly likely that it's going to happen sometime during the run, and because of the way Bush prize packs works, he now knows that he's not going to get that during Skull Woods, which means that his dashes through the bushes there are definitely going to be safer. Getting it in Skull Woods can be worse because a recoil can send you right into a Ropa and knock you down 2 hearts on the overworld, and it's practically out of your control. But now he knows that he's going to be safe.
Yeah, and then even if you are paying attention to those 2 bushes that g3rd0 went by, you could dash through them to try and force skulls to be a little bit earlier there.
Yeah, I always dash through those for that reason, actually. Some people, they won't dash through it for risk of getting a skull bush, but if you don't get it there, they're probably going to get it later anyway, so.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, this is the Thieves' Town, aka the Gargoyles' domain. my opinion, it's a fairly consistent dungeon as far as RNG goes, with very few exceptions, the most notable being the Hellway, which I think we are allowed to say on this channel. I think we have been given specific permission to say that. Where, okay, Andy...
Heckaway.
Heckaway. Or like the Infernal Hallway or something.
Yeah.
Where their objective is to get the very good pixel. Okay, g3rd0 stopped his dash there to set up the key dash. Great awareness there, realizing that it was a single pixel off from the key dash pixel. I like to see that. g3rd0 did get good RNG here at the beginning, got the pixel and got good RNG at the end. And you get to see the very good pixel.
Yeah, 2 good Gibba runes. Ooh, probably the most unfortunate pattern for Andy there.
Yeah, if you are able to, most of the patterns you don't even have to think about them. There's like that one pattern where you actually have to do a slower path, and there's one difficult pattern where you can do a fast path, but you have to really know how to handle it. And most players will opt for a slower, safer path, mostly because they're just kind of panicking and reacting as best as they can. But the difference is fairly negligible. I shouldn't say negligible. It does account for several frames, at least.
Yeah, just one of those things that kind of build up over the course of the whole narrative.
Yeah. Titan Mists of the dungeon item here. It's going to allow them to access other parts of the Dark World and also get the Tempered Sword. Right after this dungeon, they're going to pick up the level 3 sword, give them a lot of safety throughout the rest of this run.
Yeah, it's really nice because the course blind operates on 3 cycles where you need to do 3 hits for each of his head, and then the damage is inconsequential, so it doesn't matter, you know, how strong your sword is. And then afterwards, you immediately get the tempered, and it's very handy for the rest of it.
Yeah. Alright, good first 2 phases for Andy, and he's at full hearts, which means he should have no problem finishing this fight, even if he screws it up a little bit. Okay, he screwed up a little bit, but not too bad.
That's a small error.
g3rd0 released his spin there after the text box. That's actually a way of making sure that he doesn't charge his spin a second time, so he doesn't have to worry about accidentally releasing the spin for the first hit on the first phase. I think that's another thing that Joe D'Amelio actually is known for doing. g3rd0 doing a couple of Joe D'Amelio strats here. A nice fight for him as well.
So I guess while we're in the cutscene, I understand that there's a rule of thumb where when you're picking up a pendant, you want to be a bit below the pendant, and then if you're getting crystal, you want to be approximately eye level, with a couple of exceptions.
Yeah, the lower you are, the earlier you actually collect it. So for the pendants, that's good. You just want to collect it as early as possible. But for the crystals, you want to kind of be in a middle ground because you want to collect it early, but the lower you are, the higher it has to rise before the cutscene starts. And it rises at a slower speed than it drops. So it's kind of a middle ground that's actually optimal, which is basically putting the shadow right on Link's eyes.
Yeah, it definitely makes a lot of sense.
And he did not do just press A. Really would have expected him to do that. Cute thing about the strategy called just press A is the trick is to actually press A and left on the same frame, and that actually increases the distance that you can talk to the guy. So it's inappropriately named, but still a funny name. So we tolerate it.
And g3rd0 kind of doing it, but in a different position. It's actually fairly humorous.
Oh, and he has pi rupees. And no, he doesn't. And he will mirror inside of the doorway here, so he automatically gets pulled into the door here, first frame. It may appear to be faster, but the total distance that you traveled is not minimized at all. It's actually possible that it can increase the total distance traveled. However, because you're able to move after warping back from the light world to the dark world initially, you don't have to worry about time loss from mashing the Y button to mirror immediately and potentially losing a couple of frames there. So it's kind of a compromise there. You want to try to mirror as low as you can in the doorway, because the pixel that you enter the door is always the same as the pixel that you exit the door. So that's the way to technically shorten the total distance traveled. The higher you are, the more risk that you are actually losing frames. But again, as we've mentioned many times, it is much fancier to mirror inside the door, so everybody does it.
No, that's what it's all about. And while they did not get just press A and left, they both did get the fence dash. So, I mean, all winners here today.
Can't believe I rambled through the fence dash. Sorry, everybody.
And talk during the Hyrule National Anthem too. Just committing all the Helian sins today, but it's okay.
All right, going from dungeon number 4 to dungeon number 3. Dungeon does carry some risks on its own. The Gibdos here do 2 hearts of damage. That's the mummies, and they do have sometimes very challenging RNG to deal with. g3rd0 getting a little better pattern in the statue room, but trying to leave a little early, it looked like.
Ooh, and Andy going for the walking bomb jump. Very nice. It's funny because you could hover in that room, which would be quick, and you would not take the initial heart damage, but the Moldorms can get in your way, so obviously the bomb jump is a much more preferred method. But no, it does very nicely there.
The Moldorm getting in the way really is the main risk of hovering there. But I do believe you save a menu doing the hover and a bomb, so it's more than just the time save of apparently going faster in the room alone, if you are able to successfully hover.
Ideally, maybe you could do something kind of like what g3rd0 did there, bomb jump, where you go up, and then if you're able to recognize the pattern, then you could go through. But then, of course, if you have to bomb, you're losing frames on the bomb. So, you know, maybe just one of those things where it's really up to player discretion on how they're feeling or what kind of game they're playing.
Yeah, I'd like to see a player implement an RNG-dependent hover into their run. Of all the RNG-dependent optimizations we have, I don't think we have one of those exactly. Although I will say some players do intend to hover on Moldorm too, and then bail if they get a particularly bad pattern, or they know they're going to get knocked off. All right, here's Mothi left for Andy. Potentially an extremely easy or extremely difficult fight with a double hit there, but to not get good RNG, not come with poke dashes, going to take a little more time. Able to finish him off by hitting him against his spike.
Oh, that's a good fight.
Yeah, it was not too out of control at the end there, but there were a couple wasted hits, or lost hits. I shouldn't say wasted because they did have a potential to hit. There's a little bit of bad luck, made him not hit. We're going to go for the double hit here. Don't know if he got it.
I think he only got a single, but he was
so.
Trying to do dash poke, but yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, bad RNG because those moon spikes really clustered around where Moth was camping. He had to delay his last hit there.
I think they had a fairly synonymous fight in terms of time though, between the two of them.
Yeah, pretty similar. Both down 3 hearts means the heart refill is going to be the same speed, but because of the magic that they have down, g3rd0 is actually going to lose what looks like 16 frames on the magic refill. I don't know if that's going to come into play.
Whoa.
The results of this run.
Yeah, I'll have to absolutely get that anti-fairy skip to compensate.
Yeah. We may see that actually from at least one of these players. I know Andy is pretty good at the anti-fairy skip. However, whenever he says he's going to do it and dedicates the anti-fairy skip to somebody in his chat, usually has a little trouble with it.
And of course, if they're feeling really behind, the key pot's in the swamp. Instead of walking up, you could attempt to dash and pause and hammer the key. And you know, if you really need those couple of frames, if you're really
save up to 1 or 2 by doing that strategy.
That was close to like 5 or something.
Yeah, it probably could be up to. But let's be honest, you're not saving 5 frames with that dash. Frame perfect dash cancel.
That was super good, yeah. Bit of a risky strat there, but a good spot to use the menu buffer if you're feeling up to it. Again, a few ways you can do it, but of course, bonking against this wall to set up the quick warp only works during this cutscene.
Yeah, well, there's a few things that can mess it up. Like if you happen to be dashing and you open the menu or a text box pops up during the dash, it actually changes the camera alignment. So you have to make sure that you hit the wall before the text box pops up from the catfish there. And of course, quick warps are based on camera alignments, not player position.
Yeah, it'll actually, when they go back to the Death Mountain, the portal at the top there, you'll actually have to enter at a different spot for the quick warp.
These flippers are going to be the last expense of this run, and they can keep the rest of their rupees for their retirement fund.
Yeah, and you're mentioning screen transitions. Zelda's domain is another one where you'd want to cancel your dash so you can act sooner on the subsequent screen there, right?
Yes, that is correct. It actually allows you to gain control of Link faster inside of Zora's domain for some reason. Or is Andy going to hit this fire rod early? No. There's a way to set up a little variable that the game reads but does not. Well, it writes it, but it writes it by something else and then reads it by a completely different object, the fire rod, to kill that guy a little bit early. But because of the time spent walking to the door after it opens, the time save is fairly negligible. I believe it's been clocked in at about 4 frames. We'll see it used to much better benefit in Misery Mire to account for about a 10 or more second time save, ideally.
Yeah, up to 4 frames.
Up to 4 frames, right?
And actually nudging that ice block there, I believe, saves 1 frame.
Maybe.
So I tested it and it saved 1 frame, and GMD kind of pointed out to me initially, so it's pretty cool to see. So allegedly 1 frame, up to 1 frame.
Right. Good dash there from Andy. Use that damage boost so that he can use the spikes to align himself. And he's going to do a hover here. Ooh. He's going to keep trying probably. Don't know how. Oh. Yeah, no, he's going to keep trying. He's going to try forever. Okay. This is his last bomb, though, so he does have to get this first try. And he does. Down to 3 hearts now. That's going to be a little... Okay, 4 with that, but he's going to take a damage boost in a minute. That's going to put him back down to 3. It's real scary going into Cold Stare. Low hearts.
Yeah, of course, Cold Stare does 2 nice, or does 4 hearts, and nice does 2. But no, he's going for it. Trying to damage tank through the spike trap there. Missed him the sword a little bit, but the ice and the fate is probably the main scare. As long as you execute, the rest are pretty good. You can kind of maneuver around Cold Stare, but it's still a very dangerous fate. If it gets out of hand, things can just spiral very quickly.
Oh yeah. There's not going to be much spiraling if it goes poorly for Andy, though. He doesn't have enough hearts for a full spiral. It'll be pretty much just a line that goes straight down. But we're probably not going to see that because Andy is very confident. Cold Stare. What's that famous Andy highlight? I'll be fine, don't worry. And then dies Cold Stare moments later. It might be a Helpless Arcane command if anybody knows it. Okay, that was a really good play.
Yeah, that was really good.
No fear.
Not even switching to him anywhere at all. Just straight doing the fight.
We're dropping in now. 8 shots on the ice.
Should be known that these two are still incredibly close to each other. This is a really good race.
Yeah. Yeah, you got hit by the ice there. Like you said, even if you do your movement pretty much right, it's still possible that can just come out of nowhere and hit you. The puff stayed close enough together and only required one slash to kill, so he was able to clean them all up together. He did do a different strategy than Andy, a slightly different one, which optimally is a little bit slower, but it's one of those strategies that most players find to be a little bit more consistent, because you only have to do a single poke dash instead of two. And the poke dashes really are the hard part of the fight.
Yeah, so of course now just over to Swamp, dungeon number 2, game intended, and we've globally referred to as the Death by 1,000 Paper Cuts dungeon.
I hadn't heard that
so
before.
I often hear it.
Yeah, there's a lot of little nicks and scratches you're going to pick up along the way in Swamp. Nothing that's going to cripple you on its own, but by the time you get to the end, you're going to be potentially a little worse. A little worse for wear. Is that an expression? Worse for wear? I think it is.
Yep.
Okay.
Irregardless.
All right, here we go. Anti-fear skip coming up for Andy. We require silence from the crowd. A good start. I think he's going to get it this time. Ooh, nice.
We now require applause from the crowd.
Required.
Yeah, did get the first quick work too. Didn't get a second time. I don't think g3rd0 got his either, but we'll see if he goes for anti-fury.
g3rd0 looked like he picked up a couple of paper cuts on the way to Swamp too.
Well, maybe get them out really early.
Nah, he's not quite fast enough in the first part to get the skip. Knows that he doesn't need to go for it.
Yeah, and they mirror that right block, because I think if you go to the left, you can actually grab the wall, like a pixel out or something from that. I was playing with it the other day, I don't know how true that is, but I found that if you mirror the left block and try and go out, that you'll maybe grab the wall more often than you normally.
I can check that and see if, like, well, I don't know.
It is really odd, but I see runners mirror the right block, so I'm assuming it's probably a thing, but it's really odd.
Really a difference. I mean, technically, if like you're on a Taz or whatever, after you erase the block and walk up past the chest, you can pump a little on the way to the door if you're going left that you can't do on the right, I would think. I mean on the right that you can't do the left. Or whatever, I don't know. I think a Taz would go right, is what I'm saying, because of some frame perfect pumping rules that don't really apply in real time. And I think most players go left or go right because most players go right. It's one of those things where everybody does it, so everybody does it.
Yeah, fair enough. Kind of like in Hyrule there. Well, I noticed that like I used to go left, just kind of used to it, and then I'm like, oh, and then left out. And so we'll see. I'll probably test that again, but. Andy going for a nice little variant here in the switch room, having full health, the bar not getting in the way, able to offer the dash, get out, and use Sorbia hit switch.
Yeah, you don't see that too often. We won't see it from g3rd0 because he does not have full hearts here. You see some dashes like g3rd0's doing here in the water. They look like really short dashes that might not be optimal at that distance, but because they're in the water, the movement speed is slowed down. Walking and dashing speed is slowed down. But the optimal distance is a little bit shorter as well, so those dashes are acceptable.
Yeah, I think the rule of thumb is about 4.5 tiles. You wouldn't want to dash any shorter of a distance than that.
It's closer to like 4 3/4. Plus, you gotta figure that that's assuming that you have a frame perfect dash. So I usually would recommend that if you're just eyeballing it, around 5 is what you wanna go for. In a NMG run or any speed run that's been well optimized, you're not really improvising any dashes. You're pretty much doing exactly what you're supposed to do everywhere. But that might apply to like randomizer or something, where you have to play a little more intuitive of a style. That would be my recommendation.
of course, have a very fun aim here with the hook shot. And look like Annie tries to set up the hook dash there. It helps you when opening, when lifting the pot, so you can get the statue on the switch a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Got it.
It's a weird interaction. When you're in the super speed state, you can't interact with sprites with the A button, but you can interact with objects. So by doing the hook dash there, it gives you the super speed state, and you push the statue. When you try to pick up the pot, you don't have to worry about accidentally grabbing the statue because you can't grab the statue. So pot is lifted by default.
No, pot is lift.
Indeed.
And, having no bombs, so Andy gonna take bomb in the reef stockroom here. g3rd0 also not having any bombs.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
traditionally you'd want to leave this dungeon with 2, but because they're not planning on using 1 in Misery Mire, leaving this dungeon with just 1 is okay. Good arrow count still for both as well. Been very healthy on arrows through the whole run.
g3rd0 taking, I think, 3 hits there between the water tactite and the enemy. I can't quite remember the name of it. It's like Koru.
Cameron.
Yeah. But yeah, it took quite a few hits there, but incidentally enough, they're now at the same health bit here. Until that water tactite.
Yeah.
Close enough.
Argus is going to be doing 2 hearts of damage with any one of his hits, so g3rd0 has only the leniency of taking 1 hit, and then he'll be in kill range. It looks like he is aware of that and opting to play it safe here. Could be a 1 cycle, nothing too wrong with that.
No. It looked like Angie tried to go for the 0 cycle, but very tight window. But fortunately, as a fast strategy, even if you mess up, it's basically like just doing the fight normally anyway. So it's kind of a free thing to go for.
Yeah, if you're pretty good at it, you're probably not going to lose time by trying it compared to not going for it. If you're not very comfortable with it or don't really know how to do it and you try it, you may end up losing more time. But failing it can also result in heart loss, which in the case of g3rd0 here was not really an acceptable risk. So he did start going for it, but bailed early because of that.
Yeah, definitely. So you'll see how our runners do our errands here. Grab Ether on Death Mountain, and then Ice Rod from the Ice Rock Cave.
Where's Andy going? He's making his way to desert or something. That was just an unusual path. I never really seen anybody go quite that way.
Keeping you on your toes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so unfortunately it is a heart down here. Ideally it'd be full health going into Mire. Not only do you take damage from the dungeon itself, but it allows for some quicker strategies. Most notably, probably Mire 2.
Yeah, Sword Beam to allow for a quick kill, so to speak, or a cycle mitigation strat, I guess we're going to call it. And yeah, obviously it's a dangerous dungeon, and you not want to have low hearts there. You will have the potential to pick up a heart, though. Crabs are in the prize pack that has a 6 out of 8 drops are hearts. They have a 50% chance to drop. So theoretically, it's approximately a 3 in 8 chance of getting a heart when you kill one of these guys. Or,
Yeah, and while the duck does set the variable, we will not be using the flute in order to change our altitude variable here going into Mire. I expect to see both of them lift the rock into Mire from the south.
Yeah, the reason that they're going to do that, we'll see it from Andy very shortly. I think it does still use the bird. The idea is that by moving to the right, farther to the right before you pick up the rock, causes the bird to leave the screen at a different position. And that's what affects the altitude variable. And that's
Pardon me.
Yeah, that's what the fire rod's going to read later. The variable is written here and then never affected, never unset. And then it gets read by the fire rod for a reason that we can only hypothesize about. No way to be sure what the developer's intentions were there. I know Miyamoto did say that he did want to have an effect in the game where you could light a bush or grass on fire and it would spread. So I was thinking maybe if they have a variable that affects the AoE of fire, maybe they originally intended to have larger fire objects and they had to affect the size of the AoE through that. That would maybe be my best guess with what I know. So they read the variable, but unfortunately they shouldn't.
Yeah, and unfortunate for Snake in Mar there for Andy. A little bit of a jerk. You can read the pattern in the room and maybe get a favorable one, but after a certain point, you're kind of just really hoping it doesn't get in your way. And unfortunately, Andy got the worst pattern there.
Yeah, we usually do dash to kind of the south of those two horizontal pathways there, even though dashing to the north one would be a little bit faster, because the RNG almost always puts the fire snake in the north path. With the exception of when you can actually see all three of them, like g3rd0 there, and then you know the north path is going to be clear. That's an RNG reaction that saves a little bit of time if you're able to observe it fast enough. Being down 2 hearts here, Andy may not go for the Spark gamble, just loses a single heart. You may choose to play that room a little bit safe later. But the other damage boosts, unfortunately, are all mandatory.
Yeah, g3rd0 nicely augmenting his movement and going up there so he does not get hit by the fireball.
Yeah, it's a nice little setup to delay your movement. Ooh, scary slug there. Nice though that he hit the bomb instead of the slug, because the bomb does 1 heart and the slug does 4 for some reason.
Yeah, still a healthy heart count for g3rd0, but yeah, Andy, we'll have to see what he does here. So do have a lot of intentional damage in this dungeon, so really the big thing is making sure that you don't take too much. It will pretty directly account for time loss.
Yeah, he did choose to avoid the spark there. Being down 2 hearts, also remember he did skip the sanctuary heart, so really that's kind of a net loss of 3 of what the maximum could be at this point. But to do the Vitreous quick kill, you're only really required to take 4 hearts of damage. So if he goes into that fight with 5 and has a lot of confidence, should be okay.
Yeah,
this gives him even more comfort.
I was gonna say, I'm not sure how common it is to route in heart pieces, so for the month they have.
There are, there was in the last tournament, there was a player who did route in a few heart pieces that weren't very far out of the way. I don't remember how many he picked up total, 1 or 2 extra hearts at the end of the run there.
I do see Andy.
Variations.
Yeah, I do see Andy tapping dash right there before he places the block, because I think the block resets or uses the same variable that would change it, and so you're kind of using a different slot when you do dash.
Yeah,
something to that effect, like slot 3 versus slot 4 kind of idea.
Yeah, there's like an array of RAM slots that are used as scratch RAM for ancillary objects, or what we call ancillary objects, and just populates them in order. It looks for the first free one and populates it. The Smarty block would overwrite the one that's there, but the dash doesn't. Kind of similar to how the fire rod doesn't overwrite the variable. It just uses whatever happens to already be there. So the fire rod doesn't affect it either, and that's why you're able to do this glitch multiple times in a row. Hit 3 switches in this dungeon. Nice Vitreous there. I rambled through another important part of the run.
Yeah, down to 2 hearts, but not a problem.
Yeah, he came in with 6. Like I said, the minimum is 4, so he used that minimum of 4. He got the quick kill. 0 lightnings from the big eyeball. Ooh, g3rd0 looked a little scared there. Moving out of the way, you probably get 1 single lightning, maybe 2 actually. Yeah, because that last one took a little bit too long to kill.
It's still a very close race between the two, but yeah, a little bit slower to fight, but
17 arrows after Meyer. How often do you see that?
Oh, this is pretty good. And I think he used 1 or 2 for the eyes too. Maybe not. I think so though.
He could have skipped the free arrow pickup in Ganon's Tower and still had enough for Ice Armos. He could have done the Brahmin meat strat in that room. Which you should never do, by the way.
Are you telling me or the audience both?
Oh, I'm just reminding myself. That's what Brown and me told me, and you know.
Fair enough. So, you know, hot tournament strat, you know, drive-through, not being done by Andy here.
Yeah, what I want to know is when did that become the hot new meme strat? We go through these phases where there's like some strategy that's like the hot meme strat, you know, like it was gifted with greenies for a while, like now it's the Waffle House drive-through. And like a lot of players go for it. I think it's because like they see it hyped once and they want to, you know, they want to bring that hype themselves. But unfortunately, they don't really understand how to do it or why to do it. They just kind of try it and, you know, hope for the best, which is cool. I mean, like we said, you know, fanciness kind of takes priority when it comes to picking strats. So there's definitely nothing wrong with that.
No, not all. 2018, living large.
Living large. Right, and it's coming into Turtle Rock. g3rd0 just a little bit behind, coming onto the screen to open it up. Imagine if they randomized this hammer pig puzzle. Be the worst trial and error screen of like any game ever.
I actually had someone say that they wish they randomized it. I'm like, are you for real?
Yeah, I actually did change it in one of my custom randomizer seeds, but randomizing it properly would become very tedious very fast.
Yeah, especially if when you transition from the screen, it re-randomizes.
Yeah, that would be great. All right, Andy's a little slow in this room, but he's still going to do the damage boost. He's going to have to delay his dash to get out of the room, though. Good awareness there. Varying that strategy as he did. Both players did successfully manipulate their prize packs, so they both will get a fairy and a full magic drop in this dungeon, assuming they don't get the worst luck imaginable. Not getting one or both of those is like 1 in 1,000 or something.
This Tokaboki here has a 50-50 chance, and there are quite a few of them in the dungeon, so odds are you'll get it.
Yeah, every drop is a 50% chance to drop in the prize pack, and the fairy is second, and the magic drop is third, and there's a lot of chances to get it. There's 2 or even 3 chances from every hokey pokey.
Yeah, hokey pokey. And they do their dance around. But g3rd0 having a nice little pin room there.
Neither player picked up a bomb at the beginning of this dungeon, so I'm wondering if either one's going to do the strategy in the large crystal room, the large crystal switch room that automatically picks up a bomb. If they're planning to do that, or if they may do it as a reaction, or possibly just pick up a bomb some other time because there are still a few other backups.
Yeah, there are a few options, but beginning of the dungeon, end of the dungeon kind of thing. But both players getting their fairy. g3rd0 did get his before the chain chomp room there. Did take a hit, unfortunately, but you know, barring anything else, you know, it's still very okay for the rest of the dungeon. And then Andy having a very nice fairy drop there right before heading into the big key area.
Yep. Ooh, perfect double pokies there.
That was, yeah.
I criticize
what you want to see.
Yeah, I criticize you know, players sometimes for not learning the correct reactions to all the different patterns there. But luckily, nobody really messes up that one.
Yeah, think fast.
Yeah, just recognize it quick enough. And he's also making use of his sword beams here. I think we recently learned that having the crystal switch in its non-default position actually causes a little bit of extra lag during room transitions because the code has to run a check for that and set up the pegs as a result and redraw the room. So there may potentially be a change in the crystal switch route in this dungeon. We can find a faster strategy in the last crystal switch room and not hit it in that roller room on the way out.
So here we got our laser skip.
Nice.
Big scary laser, but only the front of it actually hits you at all.
Yep. Probably like a 8x8 pixel square, if I had to guess. Yeah, and he's doing the strategy to get the bomb. Looks like that was definitely his plan going in.
Yeah, in terms of time compared to the King Dash, it's not very different.
No, and there's less that can go wrong when you do it this way. When you do the K dash, there's a few things that can definitely go wrong and can result in a big time loss there.
Yeah, that hummus or football player definitely takes one for the team. Likes to try and get in the way. And of course, the Hokuboku's orientation.
And he's taking down Trinex, whilst g3rd0 is collecting his small key from the laser. Hasn't lost any more hearts, or maybe he lost the one more that you're required to take from the firebar. But otherwise, a safe dungeon for him, and Andy finishing up Trinex exactly how it's supposed to go.
Well, that was pretty close for g3rd0 there, but
that was very brave.
Calculated, not a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, taking advantage of the invulnerability frames from those pegs. You only see it a few times in the run, but that's one of the rooms where you can potentially see it.
So g3rd0 also doing backdoor strats here. Ooh, but misses it. This is really bad. This is a terrible position to be in, and you can see between the spike traps and the recoil.
Yeah, luckily he didn't take a lot of damage from the hit that he took. A couple of extra rod shots might make you a little nervous on your magic, and Trinex moves around a little more. He was very patient though and recovered well. I actually saw him mess up the first part of this fight when he was practicing right before the race started. So that's maybe foreshadowing there. And he's going to clear the second phase. Probably, yeah, perfectly fine. He knows what he's doing.
A big thing is really patience when things go awry. Of course, the RNG can, facilitate for a much worse experience. But patience is definitely big. You don't want to try and rush or get flustered and then have everything spiral out of control. But we do see Andy going to the tower here. You can cast your dash at the very end, and if you're 1 pixel away from the tower, you will reduce the lag frames of the tower itself. But Andy obviously does know about that, but maybe did not get it here.
Yeah, I mean, you do want to stop the dash as late as you can, because you do want to take advantage of the dash movement for as long as possible. And if you try to stop it too late, you might just... It's kind of like bonking. Try to stop your dash a little bit too late and bonk. But there, it's a much less noticeable effect.
Yeah, and both of them still in a really good pace. Nothing too crazy. Obviously, death and hair for Andy, and little bits and things for each of the player, but still a really good run here.
Yeah, I think Andy's on a very good pace despite that death. Coming into Ganon's Tower, everybody's favorite dungeon. At least it should be everybody's favorite dungeon. Definitely the most difficult. From a speedrunning perspective, there's just challenge after challenge that you have to learn how to do, learn how to optimize, learn how to handle, terrible RNG or, terrible situations. It's great if you're a person that loves learning and likes to, practice a lot. One of those kind of players.
Yeah, definitely. So kind of like Aga Tower 2. Everything gets, turned up quite a bit. It goes to 11. Final exam of the test, so to speak. Just lots of little execution things and different ways to go through.
They bring back a couple of enemies and things that you see in previous dungeons, like Gibdos you only see in one dungeon except Ganon's Tower. That's to bring back the Wall Master and things that people like the Wall Master. But there aren't any really strong enemies in the whole dungeon. I don't think there's any pokies or any slugulas or anything that does 4 hearts of damage. I think the most damage any enemy does is 2. So while it is a long dungeon, the risk of taking a lot of damage at any point or really dying is fairly low, except for a few particularly challenging rooms like in the Gauntlet.
Yeah. And Andy's ice arm was almost started to look a little bit precarious there, but it's able to clutch it out quite well. Yeah, we'll have a good arc variable.
Yeah, I've heard of the arc variable. Ooh, g3rd0 stepped in that warp, surely by accident. And to come into the Mimic's room. Really tough to manipulate these guys just how you want. Kill them. Optimizing these rooms are some of the most difficult ones in the whole game. This is getting a little out of hand. The Beamos didn't fire though. He was actually moving in a way to dodge it. He was baiting it to dodge it, and it just didn't fire. So if it had fired, he would have handled it fine. But But that's really the risk of that room when it starts to go bad, is that you have to worry about the beamless.
It looks like Greta's having good ice almost here too. So both these
That's would be normal.
Oh.
Ooh. And he almost got damage boosted across the corner of that pit there, which can happen from that cannonball, but wasn't quite far enough to the side for it to happen.
Yeah, Ganon Ballsy putting up a bit of fight there, but now entering the gauntlet, 5 rooms, lots going on. You know, you got your conveyors, your different enemies, you got your spike traps, you got your ice conveyor enemy Beamos spike trap, and then just a lot of ice. It's kind of almost toning down in a way, but
Oh man, g3rd0's
simple but dangerous to me.
Yeah, g3rd0's first mimic room kind of fell apart on him there. Wasted 1 arrow. 4 is just enough, but luckily there is a drop in this room that he can pick up to have enough. I don't know if this is nerves kicking in here at the end.
Yeah, and they are definitely some of the harder rooms in the game. It's based purely on your own movement, but that said, the window and margin for some things is you know, potentially very variable.
Yeah, oh wow, g3rd0 actually tried the bow dash, but messed it up a little bit. Continued through the room and still managed to get the normal spike pattern on the way out. Just happened to delay the room just enough that it got back to that pattern so he could dash out. Kind of funny when that happens.
Yeah, it does take a small hit here. You might think in a normal run, maybe go for safety door or something, but considering this is tournament he's behind, he cannot afford any extra additional time loss.
Yeah.
So, you know, while he is in a dangerous position, and he will take this opportunity to grab the heart as it's a little bit more convenient, he really, you know, he can't afford to play it too safe. So that'll directly translate into time, which he cannot afford currently.
Well, he can always rely on Andy falling at the Molder and 2 hover a few times, but I don't know. We'll see what happens there. Oh, nice ice skating there. All right, we're going to take... Oh, Andy used his last bomb. Luckily, there's like 8 in this room, so he's fine there. And he picked up that key, which means he's not going to need it to pick up the one in the next room. Even though that wasn't really his plan, he'll probably end up skipping this one because he doesn't need it.
Those are very nice dodging of the spike trap there until the very end.
Yeah. All right. Do we think he's going to hover? Ooh, switch to the hook shot. That's not a good sign.
I don't think so, personally.
I think he might be on too good of a pace. He might just want to play it safe and just get this fight over with.
Well, he was practicing the hover earlier, and then of course, given the ice balance decisions of you know, today, 2018, I might just say, you know what, it's not worth the 6 seconds or whichever. I'm just gonna.
Yeah. You know, I think we should maybe check the weather report in Atlanta, because I think Andy said he doesn't hover as well. Hot out. I think I remember him saying that once. We could use that to predict the quality of his hovers, that insider knowledge.
Different atmospheric pressures.
Yeah. Ooh, nice pattern there from the Aghanims. On the first cycle, you don't have to worry about a blue ball, so you can stand vertically to him. But you want to try to stand horizontal or at a diagonal on the second and third cycle, because there's a chance of a blue ball hitting you. And on the fourth, there was no blue balls. So.
Yeah, getting some very favorable patterns here, but of course, impossible fight. Does not matter.
Yeah, ooh. Those dashes, man. Don't always recommend them. It's really crazy how the damage boost just sends you straight to the nearest hole. It's like, barely even feels random. Just straight to that nearest pit.
Yeah, it's hard-coded.
Yeah. Good second fight, though. All right. And he's going to be falling into, again, at a high 123.
123.44. So the 12 hits here for the first phase, 12 for the second, 4 for the third, and then of course 12 charge spins for the fourth, as they do not have silver arrows. And getting a really nice pattern here. Not too bad considering, you know, between the arc variable and everything, Ganon, there's some predictable ways to deal with him for these first little phases here.
Ooh.
It has to be incredibly careful in that.
I was just about to talk about how dodging the bats from inside the circle is so easy and consistent when you get the correct arc variable. And Andy has so much experience doing it. I mean, is he on PB pace? Because he might actually be feeling some pressure now. This is definitely mid 125 pace. Hard to be exactly sure. A few warps there are going to lose him a little more time. There's a much lower risk of taking any damage on the 4th phase, so 2 hearts isn't too scary, but every attack does do 2 hearts or more damage. Yeah, it's pretty scary with those heart beeps playing, but the 4th phase is the same as always.
Yeah, the first 2 are the real danger, and this is basically making sure that you have a clean Ganon. The threat becomes negligible, but g3rd0 entering Ganon here.
Yeah, 3.5 hearts. Some of Ganon's attacks in the 1st phase do 4 hearts of damage. The Trident and the Fire Bats do. In the 3rd and 4th phase, the Fire Bats only do 2 hearts of damage. But in the first couple phases, g3rd0's going to need to be extra careful that he doesn't take any damage. And he's finishing it up.
As g3rd0 enters phase 3.
Is this a PB form? If his PB is a 125.38, as our chat intel is telling us, it's going to be really close.
Yeah, 125.38.
No!
He's 1 second off. He'll finish this tournament race in first place with an SRT time of 1 hour, 25 minutes, 40 seconds. But, for his personal timer, 125.39, and that's incredible too, considering everything that happened. He's probably having mixed feelings right now, but he did win the tournament race, which is probably the technically more important thing. Maybe.
He felt like 4 times trying to hover, and he was 1 second off of his new PB. Andy's ridiculous. I don't know if I mentioned this at the beginning of the race, but one of the ways that I would describe Andy's play is like, I think I called him a knucklehead, but that's how, he's a goofball, he just screws around and has fun and does random stuff, and somehow he's fast. And there's no logical explanation for it. Nobody can figure out how Andy's fast. Yeah.
Scientists have tried to discover these top 10 things that Andy to no avail.
That's right. Yeah, but Andy does handle pressure well. Yesterday he was doing some practice runs and, honestly, they were not going well. And he wakes up today and he realizes he has some pressure on him to perform well. And he just thrives under that kind of a situation. It's really impressive, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, not to take away from our 2nd place finisher, g3rd0, also having a really great run, sub 127. He does finish in 2nd place on SRTV with time of 1 hour, 26 minutes, and 53 seconds. And, again, just a great run by both of them.
Yeah, for sure. 126 is still a very good time.
Hello, Mr. Andy. GG on your race.
Hello.
How are you feeling?
That was an interesting run.
It most certainly was.
That GT was really bad. I was actually a little bit nervous because I couldn't believe that I was on PB pace after dying in Hera.
And then, of course, Saturday's Palace.
Yeah. That was good.
Yeah, well, I think, honestly, Andy, you've been better than your PB for a long time. And with new tech and everything, your potential is quite high these days. So losing some big time losses there, but still being on pace. Hopefully you stick with NMG for a while this time, and we can see that 124 finally.
Yeah, hopefully. I'm a little salty that for the 2nd time in my Link to the Past career, ACM cut me back 3 days after I cut him.
I couldn't believe it.
But,
I gotta say, as an ACM fan, I hope that you keep cutting him because I want to see him improve too.
Yeah.
Also got g3rd0 in here now. GG g3rd0.
Yeah, what's up? GG.
GG.
GG's.
Pretty nice run, all things considered.
Yeah, some hiccups here and there. I'm just happy that it didn't come down to the blue belts. Like I would have lost anyway, even with better blue belts. So that's good.
Yeah, that's not something we really like to see in a race, is when blue ball is really decided. But unfortunately, it is just a part of the game. do have to accept it if it happens, no
Yeah.
matter what chat says.
I was pretty upset actually because I got 2 blue balls for the first time in a while with the hair of death. I was like, thanks, game. Thanks for making me feel better about myself.
Yeah, that's the way it goes. All right, so that puts you through to the semifinals, Andy. Your opponent is not known yet. It's going to be either Josh, aka X-Released, or Link Orange. Are you feeling confident about your next round in this tournament?
I mean, Josh is definitely a really good runner, but I think I can keep up with pretty much anyone left.
Yeah, when did Josh get so good? Like, when did that happen?
Yeah, I don't
I've been out
know.
of it for a little while, but
He stopped complaining about frames and actually got good.
that's what you have to do. Okay. Yeah, Link Orange also has been improving a lot lately too, so I wouldn't rule him out if he keeps trying as hard as he has been.
Yeah, but casual at 125.39 with a hair death and some mishaps here and there. So I mean, it's pretty good. You're doing really good.
Coming from the god Dory,
No.
who just PB'd by like 3.5 minutes 2 days ago.
I don't know what happened there. I think some of that atmospheric pressure we're talking about in Contour earlier might have came into play here.
Oh yeah, I was saying Andy doesn't hover very well when it's hot out, so we're gonna check the weather report in Atlanta.
Yeah, that was I mean, they were all quick. I walked in the hole pretty much 3 straight times. It also sealed the deal on whether I was gonna hover Moldorm 2 or not.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
It was
I
a
know,
little
it's-
weird to see. I mean, you pulled out the hook shot, and I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, a very peculiar boing 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 device. Alien instrument. But no, it was really good. g3rd0, is there anything else you wanted to add?
Not really. I'm just happy that I made it this far in the tournament. Like, I didn't expect it. And yeah. Shoutouts to all the organizers.
can you believe that Scrivo colluded against the randomizer community and put you, me, and Zero Rush on the same side of the bracket?
Unbelievable.
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 Definitely rigged.
Still incredible showing for you, of course, and unfortunately no longer in the tournament, but yeah, this is how it goes. But yeah, so I don't know if you two have any final words, so g3rd0 kind of made his piece here, but Andy, anything else?
I don't think so. Hopefully I'll PB against my next opponent.
Not just PB during tournament and get people going 1 second off. That's that's quite the feeling.
All of these top 8 runners have PB'd since the tournament started, which was also really cool.
Yeah, that's pretty sick.
Oh, it's kind of funny. I'm racing blunt and he's like, oh yeah, just PB low 124. Okay, next one. I'm like, well, okay then. No pressure. But yeah, so thank you two for running. It was definitely a lot of fun to watch and a lot of fun to commentate. And of course, commentating, the co-commentator here, Mr. the Flash Toby Crackett, aka Super Scudge.
What? Who's that?
I don't know.
Yeah, this is a fun one. Doesn't look like there's anything. Well, actually, there's something coming up on this channel at 6 p.m. Eastern, so in 20 minutes there'll be Luigi's Mansion, and at the same time Wings of V will be starting on Speed Gaming 2. Looks like that's all upcoming on the schedule right now, so if you're interested in either of those things, check those out. And yeah, thanks everybody for watching. Thanks guys for playing and for playing well. Thanks for nobody having a really critical death early that kind of ruined the race, like like a Moldorm death or something. And yeah, I guess that's all for us, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.